Welcome, 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 Manchurians. Welcome, Manchurian candidate here, speaking on behalf of Mr. Dunn for a moment. Just to tell you that this is the Breaking Sad campaign, which, believe it or not, I think this was your first campaign. Is that right? Well, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was one of the most pertinent ones in my life a little while ago. It's become somewhat the back burner now with the old fascism taking over and everything. But nevertheless, this was like one of the primary first things. I was like, surely I could get this over the line in politics. Surely by the time my kid's old enough to hit the free market, there will be a regulated, safe space for drugs, and drugs will be controlled and regulated in a way that people have access to them. People can use them for medicinal purposes, and there will be no judgment and nonsense and horse manure coming from various establishment forces. But okay, look, we've only just started. Just keep a lid on it with the ranting. There's plenty of time to rant. Look, here we go. Welcome. Thanks for listening. And here we go. Here's a little banter about what Breaking Bad. Oh no, sorry, not Breaking Bad. Don't listen. There's non-profit and a bit of a parody. Don't sue anybody. But if you don't mind, it's the break time to break sad. Time to break, put an end to the sadness and this nonsense. And as you can see, it is rebel medicine. Rebel medicine? I'll tell you about that in a minute. Right, okay, well, it's so good, in fact, that it is, in fact, illegal. I love it. Get on board. Brilliant. Sponsor this chap, whatever you need to do, just follow, click and follow and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Let's get there. Let's get the cannabis liberty. Cannabis prohibition is over. I'll hang over to you now, if that's all right. Thanks, man. Thank you. Glad you're excited, buddy. Ooh, this is a bit spicy, this material. Do you want to explain why? So, well, yes. I'll just leave it with me in a minute, buddy, right? Because although this is a fun thing, because it is about getting stoned and all that, which is a laugh, but it's also a very serious campaign about the fact that we need to end the misery, right? There's a great deal of health suffering. There's a great lack of health liberty. I am a health libertarian maximal, right? Because if I believe that if people cannot have access to knowledge and understanding, and crucially have a full spectrum of medicines available to them, there is no way to achieve health and health liberty in this life. So this campaign objects just on a humanitarian basis. I'm not going to spend a great deal of my time in politics making the case for substances, making the case for various chemicals, having nonsensical conversations, unqualified conversations. I'm just going to point out that these laws apply only to peasants, okay, such as myself. This is the kind of thing that was done to suppress whiskey back in the day. Scottish people had to do lots of smuggling and stuff. So these substances could have great potential. We do not know, but the criminalization and prohibition is just completely illogical, and that is my argument. It's an illogical, illiberal situation, and it appears to be class war racism and toxic authoritarian stuff from the cops. So the best way would be to just abolish, total abolition. This is an abolition subject for me too. Abolish prohibition. Okay. Yes, quick note here on how absolutely absurd regulation is compared to guns or any kind of safety argument, right? So, this is just to eradicate and again to spend as little time as possible in the discussion politically about why on earth there is a prohibition, to just point out that the idea that it is for everyone's benefit that there is control of these substances. Are you kidding me? They literally unleash any kind of corporate monstrosity on kids, young people, the vulnerable, getting big business to concern itself with our well-being and getting the government to concern itself with the well-being of the people that live in the country is a massive challenge. The idea that looking at this and thinking, well, this is for our benefit and totally benign, that is really absurd. Okay, you're being denied access to things that will improve your quality of living, that will reduce the amount of disease and suffering in your life, that will having access to the full spectrum of what's available in medicine is our right as a human being. And these kind of prohibition things are just illogical, disastrous, have been completely toxic for my life personally, and it will be absolutely a failure of me in my political career if I get nowhere near the end of prohibition of at least cannabis, if not all substances, and the absurdity that these doctors who have failed, consistent failure to deal with chronic pain, with chronic disease, to treat human beings with respect, the death here for me is a non consensual medicine. That must die. That must be abolished. This is breaking sad. It's like saying, well, how dare you inflict suffering on people for your own preferences? Okay. So, a little word about evidence here, but again, I can't claim any medical expertise. I'm certainly not doing that. I have real no interest in pressing upon you authority about medicine. I have no desire to firmly back anything with your health choices. My job as a holistic health teacher has always been, with the people I'm working with, is to get them to take charge of their own health, to take charge of their own well-being. In that case, just fundamentally how to move your body in a way that doesn't produce pain, or how to change the way you move so that you're not aggravating any pain, or how to actually literally deal with pain and remove pain altogether and remove disease altogether from the body, which can be done. Right? Now, it will not be done under these current market conditions for medicine. Medicine at the moment is an absolute disgrace. It is a corporate fraud on a scale. I mean, short of guns, weapons, and bombs and slavery and stuff, I don't quite know where you could go to find worse situations. The idea that any doctor, any medical practitioner anywhere in this country has the idea to force upon you or tell you what drugs to take, what not to take, what will work for you, what will not work for you, is something that the reality of healthcare, the situation we currently face, proves beyond any shadow of a doubt the stunning and absolutely chronic and irredeemable failure of clinical modern medicine. Now, I am pro vaccine. I am pro fixing broken legs. I am pro accident and emergency care. I'm even pro statins. Look, I'm pro all these things that come from the invention and technological developments of modern medicine. I am not at all tolerant of the filters and pinch points and controls and limitations and denials that are socially, politically put upon people. There is just fundamentally a class war element in all of medicine. So here I've mentioned sex work, crime, etc. These things that are controlled, right? Picking on people for use of these things is clearly a disease, and it is a morally bankrupt thing to be doing. To be restricting access to people for anything, frankly. I mean, I am an absolute maximum liberal. The idea that one human has the right to tell another human really what to do or control what they do, I just find it completely toxic and unacceptable. And I don't feel that I need to get into the muck with stupid conversations with white jacket wearing people who seem to think that they are good at their jobs. When you look around the world and find the state of affairs when people outsource their healthcare to others, particularly others who have monetized interests, disease as profit, illness as a benefit to them type issues. Look, you can't outsource responsibility anymore. So breaking sad is not about arguing in favor of any particular drug, not about arguing in terms of efficacy, not about directing people down any particular channel of medicine whatsoever, but just saying that the current medical establishment has completely failed miserably. Look, these drugs were not found on Mars, right? I'll come to that in a minute. Let's continue about the failure, right? I just want to really spend time in this campaign talking about why what's happening is happening. Okay, I'm a political scientist, studier of human beings. I'm fascinated by what people do and sometimes the depraved things they do fascinate me more than anything. So you think, why are these humans doing this disgraceful, despicable, wicked thing to other human beings, right? What's happening? How could this be a choice of theirs? Well, the choice that they make is to be sadistic, and the assessment I have is that we're dealing with golden child syndrome, class warfare, lots of intersectional various problems that lead to prohibition of substances that people need or want or desire. And therefore, the inclination to restrict access to anything that people want, desire, need, or benefit from, or helps them move forward in life is something that is always under assault by a certain section of society. Why is that? Well, look, I've put here peasants, punishment of the peasants. Really, this is a reality where, for example, most senior MPs and politicians and such generally openly brag about casual use, casual consumption, and think it's kind of funny and a bit of a joke, but will put people in jail. And then other men, usually, innocent women as well, but people who are completely innocent, who are using a substance probably to cope with the hell that society has given them as a life, and they are using the substance and then being criminalized. So you have got, again, just like the one rule for you, one rule for the others type thing. And that, to me, is just game over on any legitimacy, on any prohibition whatsoever. The minute that posh people need to give money, like Matt Perry's doctor has recently gone down because the ketamine guy who's supplying him the ketamine completely irregular. Look, that dynamic of power and control is toxic every single time. No doctor, in my mind, has got any business. No doctor can claim to be a scientist. Look, if you're claiming to be a scientist to me, right, you have to look at the evidence at how shambolically bad at health provision that you are, how miserably you fail to identify the needs of patients, how miserably and utterly illegitimate your responses are to these things, whether it be surgery or drugs or just telling people to go away and get on with their lives. You're not doing healthcare. You are not healthcare, doctors, GP practitioners particularly, utterly, utterly woefully inadequate. Not worth a single penny of public money, in my opinion. My black market drug dealer, fucking smuggler of substances, is a better healthcare practitioner than any member of our NHS because our NHS is non-consensual. You are all rapists. You violate patients' human rights. There is no difference between you and a fucking Jimmy Savile person. I've got the language in here now. This will have to get the adult tech. I'm fine with it. You doctors, listen to me. You sons of bitches have pinch pointed people's healthcare to the point where people are running up and shooting folk in the street, and the whole country is not bothered. That's how bad it is. So when I say sadistic punishment of the peasants, believe me, this is a prohibition abolition issue. It is not even remotely a healthcare issue because you JPs, you Thatcherite GPs, don't do healthcare. That's not what you do. You don't do that at all. You are absolute barbarian, criminal fucking. To me, like honestly, doctors, surgeons. I had a client come in once and tell me a story about a surgeon just removed an organ for because he felt like it. Don't tell me they're not psychopaths. This is the town of Birkenhead here. I know that they are psychopaths. I'm not asking you, I'm trying to warn you, do not outsource your healthcare decisions to anyone, especially not a posh person. If you are Scottish, don't do it to an English person. If you're an American immigrant, don't do it to some Native American person because they might well just take out sick, disgraceful harm upon you and do something to hurt you. That is what we are facing in medicine right now. Sorry to swear, but honestly, GP doctors, I don't understand. If you want to impress me and win me over morally, you just say, right, I'm going to take these stupid, fraudulent letters in front of my name off, and I'm going to function as a free market medicine person, proper free market medicine person. We will talk about this as we go along. This is great catharsis. Thanks for listening, folks. So, dealing with the doctors a little bit more before we move on from just, why on earth it is that I would persuade people to stop listening to their doctors, which is beyond the pale radical thing to do. It's sort of borderline irresponsible thing to do. And I understand that. People will try and make comparisons with me and Robert F. Kennedy and Donald J. Trump, the bleach people, the anti vax people. I am not an anti vax person. I'm pro vaccine, completely pro vaccine. So, and again, my experience comes from 10 years plus of working with chronic disease. It comes from having suffered from chronic disease needlessly myself. It comes from witnessing a mother who was a nurse, who worked her whole life in the NHS and then was treated like human garbage by the same institution she gave her life to. So I'm sorry, doctors and clinicians, but you want to affiliate with this institution. You want to wave the flag. You want to have the letters in front of your name. Well, I'm sorry. You are who you are to me. And that means I do not trust you. If you're a clinical doctor and you're a clinically minded person, to me, you're a fucking Nazi. Okay, so let's just get into this. Why you're a fucking Nazi. Dear doctors, just fuck off now, eh? You failed at the do no harm stage. Do no harm is too much to ask. You fuck with people's lives, decisions, incompetent, entitled, ignorant, class war fighting. Fuck, I've been to all this way. What business have you interfering in the health choices of others? Well, none, because you're generally hopeless. You make more mistakes than you do things correctly. And if you just taught people healthcare, they wouldn't have any problems at all. And you would be redundant, which you don't want. You want to have power. It's toxic. It's sadistic. It's not healthy. It isn't healthcare. It's something that if humans are going to move forward, we will have to stop listening to these people, I'm afraid, because they have become completely corporatized. They're not scientists. They're not even Darwinian. They're not even basically considerate of the human being's needs in front of them. The clinical mind, it says here, is itself a God delusion. A golden child syndrome of the middle class is usually created in the minds of beta males and beta females. You know who you are, who use the guise of science and progress and personal holiness to conduct rapes, murders, harm in community. It is abundant. There are plastic windpipe motherfuckers, every mesh installing, making women give birth in horrible positions, midwifery hellholes that we have all the way up and down this country, where working class women are moo, moo. I always do the moo so that you know how I feel about the kind of healthcare that is being delivered to people. It is treating human beings and pregnant women and babies like animals. And if you don't believe me, you want to go and try the Edinburgh Royal Infirmary. Medicine has always been this. Look at women's health in particular. Exactly. You can't help but get onto this. Clinicians, sociopaths, fascinatingly childlike presentation. They are always there mucking about with people's health. I've never seen anything like it. If you give a doctor, right, a series of options in front of them, how to proceed, they will pick the most annoying, inconvenient, fussy, irritating, problematic one they can because they're just irritating people. They're fundamentally broken individuals. I've never met a doctor that I would trust as far as I could throw And I mean, I could probably throw one pretty damn far because I'm terrified of them. They're freaks. They'll install a plastic windpipe in you. They will do tests on you to make sure that you meet their needs, and then they will use you and chuck you in the bin. You don't believe me? They're fucking all like this. They are all like this. I've just given up completely on expecting anything other than psychopathy, fucking complete incompetence. I mean, again, we are supposed to believe it is incompetence. How do you want me to believe it is incompetence? They've had to put this do no harm report. You understand? So, my Breaking Sad campaign, this is about getting drugs and liberalizing medicine completely. This is almost as important as total health liberty. We cannot have total health liberty without the Breaking Sad thing, where it's just like, look, I'm sorry, what goddamn business do you have taking healthcare away from anyone? And above and beyond that, you suck at it. You're terrible at it. You cannot be trusted at it. So I beg you, remove your stupid letters, go and get a proper job. That's my advice to doctors in this country. Instead of coming up with Thatcherite, fraudulent class warfare ways to rip off the public, hurt people, and get paid for it. You disgust me. The vast majority. There are a few tiny exceptions, but most of you are conducting class war in the community. And I will abolish the GP practice if it fucking kills me. Because honestly, the GP practice has very nearly killed me several times. Fuck. God help me. Moving on. Yet more, trying to educate the audience, the listener, the reader, the poor soul listening to me getting triggered, insanely triggered here. Why? Why am I so triggered? Because I have suffered a great deal of pain and agony and lost many, many years of my life due to the total failure of doctors. I've also watched people that I love suffer in ways that are inhumane and disgraceful and shouldn't be acceptable at all. So I have zero trust in doctors. Let me put it to you this way. Here I've got a thing. What does it say? It was here the whole time, right? So like, remember that these so-called scientists, right? They're acting like they're doing science. They're pumping about, stomping about, criticizing things like Reiki, criticizing things like sound baths, criticizing things like yoga, Pilates, criticizing things like watching what you eat. For God's sake, that's where we're at. Do you remember that big muscly lump who was a doctor on TV for a while? You know, he had blonde floppy hair and all that. He had a face like a cartoon character, something from Spit and Image, right? And he would go. He was a sort of paid up doctor guy who would appear on BBC and stuff and just absolutely lose his rag about holistic healthcare and how rubbish it all was and how you shouldn't be listening to anyone other than your doctor. And this is the critical thing of all the various things that they shit their beds about compared to my meltdowns. They have meltdowns about things like, would you mind washing your fucking hands? Would you mind treating people like human beings? Trying to get mental health practitioners to treat patients like they are humans requires an enormous human rights watchdog operation. And this is to the lefties in the community. Look, you need to understand that no amount of throwing money at our current healthcare system is ever going to change the disaster that is healthcare. I know that we do not suffer from bankruptcy. I know that we do not have people running away from ambulances in this country. It is not like America. You do not strawman me by saying it's like that. I'm not advocating that. What I'm saying is, until we take away the choice and the decision making and the power held within clinicians and give that power directly to patients to make decisions about their own health and their own well being, we will never get to good health because their goals are not to acquire good health for anyone. Their goals are to keep people sick and maintain control and power and make money off their disease. Making money from their diseases and making sure that their diseases are absolutely chronic and cannot ever be recovered from are what they do the majority of the time. I mean, they're completely preoccupied with doing that more so than looking for things that might work and help. They don't want you to look for things that help. I never forget what my guy said to me: give up on all this. Don't worry about it. Just forget all this. You're never going to get better. No one gets better from this thing, which is just a completely fraudulent disease that we've made up, which benefits the people who paid for my education, the people who paid for this institution, the people who pay me loads of money, people giving me little letters after my name that say I'm some kind of genius when I'm actually a complete fucking useless robot. In fact, robots would be better. The quicker we can get robots and AI to take over in a Wikipedia Commons type way to give people real healthcare and get these awful doctors and GPs, these horrific nurses and midwives, these fucking terrible, awful managers. The managers are the worst. I mean, they really, really are. But look, my fundamental point would be here. We've got this smuggling history here in Scotland with whiskey. Whiskey was a product that was illegal contraband. At the moment, as I've said, I'm trying to lift prohibition on medicine that probably has fantastical, huge economy lifting, game changing, historic heritage producing type of thing. Because we've had these psilocybin magic mushrooms growing in Scotland randomly for such a long time. And it could well be the world's number one antidepressant within the next 10 or 15 years. And it was here the whole time. And what are they doing? They're going, ooh, maybe psilocybin. Ooh, maybe we can try this now because we're the clever doctor people. So now that everyone else has done the thing that we said not to do, and they've proved that the thing works fine and is actually really positive, and lots of alternative people have had to fight up against the police and the institutions and all of our bullshit about how these products are not good for you, and that has now been proven to be completely rubbish, you're still co-opting and acting like you've done something. Doctors are a liability to your health, people. Don't listen to a single fucking one of them unless they are speaking at least some kind of vague acceptance of holistic thinking, of the fact that you are a human being, not a fucking disorder that they can classify and identify and then put you into the pigeonhole of money making horseshit for the rest of your damn life. No, fight. Try things. Try some radical shit. Look, I mean, it really, if I hadn't taken risks, I would never have gotten better. And they don't want you to take risks. They want to disenfranchise you from your health and your power and your ability to just test something out and say, well, Christ, it's not going to kill you, is it? Do you know how many people die from cannabis? My life's ambition is to be the first man to die from cannabis, and that will prove that these fucking doctors, oh, they've got a case to make. And just give them that bone so that they'll be going, oh, well, somebody did actually die. Yes, is that the one guy? So one guy. So you're telling me that one guy died. Therefore, we get to take away this completely legitimate remedy for all these other things, and you get to force people to take this awful manufactured in a factory, just horror show plastic chemical shit that would just God knows what it's doing to you. They don't even fucking care what it's doing to you. They literally don't care what these drugs do to you in the long run. Absolutely no accountability, no concern whatsoever, just making sure that the good solutions like psilocybin are never, ever, ever discovered or touched. I mean, and that's it. And now they have to take credit for it. Yes, well, we do all the time. What a lot of rubbish. Doctors, you suck. You really do. Last bit of ranting about this situation. Nobody's going to doubt me for authenticity, are they? That's what they say the market wants. Market wants authenticity. Let me give you authenticity. I genuinely sympathise with the gentleman. I don't condone murders and shootings without judicial whatever. I don't condone the death penalty at all in any way whatsoever. So I have absolutely nothing but condemnation. However, what I would say is I can completely understand why someone would turn to such desperation. Just the same as when we look at, well, why was a terrorist done this horrible thing? And why is this lunatic psychopath done this horrific thing? We're often looking to find a rationalization of how they did it, why they did it. So I can really sympathize with Luigi because of just the sheer outrage that medicine is. Modern medicine, it is very rare, if not, I think, completely impossible to find a doctor, a clinical doctor, who has got good intent. Should we treat them with abuse? No, we shouldn't. We should just defeat them at their own ridiculous game. Because really, as I've said in this document, the reason that these products are, suffer from prohibition and are kind of limited and are taken out of the market, the free market, is to protect their crappy products that don't work. They're crappy, awful drugs that do not work. They're crappy, awful antidepressants that don't make a difference. And eventually, when we get these all free to the market, we will find, oh, this is a problem, and okay, well, this is going well, and this is going not so well. And lots of things like that will happen. And the free market is an engine for weeding out, literally, weeding out the garbage and getting us to good products, healthy products that make things better. Like myself, Pilates is one of those things consistently disregarded and laughed at and mocked, and all the rest of it completely changed my life, saved me from a destiny of Luigi. I would easily have ended up with that destiny. As a young man, to have my whole life taken away from me with chronic disease and be told this is how it is by people who have no competence to do so, who are completely ignorant of reality, who are not scientists. No, 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 no. You're not scientists, doctors. Let me just repeat myself. You are not scientists. You are not doing science. You are not even remotely Darwinian. I have seen doctors identify flaws just with the way the human body is and blame it on just how unacceptably awful humans are. Humans are just broken somehow, you know? That's how they explain away everything. Things that are harming us in our environment are of no interest to them. I'm going to repeat myself. Things in our environment that are harming us are of no interest to our doctors. If you go to a doctor, I'd like to talk to you about the abundance of plastics in the environment. I don't give a fuck. I mean, honestly, couldn't give a damn. Couldn't give a damn. I remember when my kid was born, I says, this is one of the most heavily trafficked parts of the world at the moment. What's the air quality research like around here for what's it like for kids catching asthma and catching diseases? And they had no answer, did not care, have no concern because they're not doing healthcare. They're not doing just as much. You can say I can stomp about right and say what I do is I don't know, body painting or something. It's not body painting, it's just Pilates. There's no amount of continuing to say that Pilates is body painting will make Pilates body painting. However, this lot have to keep saying, no, we're healthcare, no, we're healthcare, no, we're healthcare. You hurt people. We need a do no harm campaign. We cannot get the country to be well. The country is suffering from chronic disease. We have rates that are through the roof. I mean, the only thing that you guys really had to do in order to protect patients was to go on strike enough, to care enough, to get the job done. You don't get the job done. You don't deliver. You fail miserably. And then you blame the patients or you blame someone else. You blame the government and you ask for more money to pay you to do more failure, to not teach anyone anything, to turn up at work and act like a victim. Oh, it's so hard to be a medical doctor. Oh, it's so difficult because people just know. The whole dynamic is such a disgrace. You people are delusional. You have God delusions in your heads. You have failed, 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 failed. If your goal is to improve health, you fail. If your goal is to make yourselves lots of money, act all narcissistic, hurt people with an unregulated system, and make people feel like they are fucking genuinely getting something good from you people because we are paying you so little. I really, honest to God, I cannot imagine. I am a capitalist, right? And I have worked in the charitable sector. So my experience is of extremely high standards, whether that be at the five-star hospitality level or just the one-to-one business level. I have my own name, my own brand, so I do everything the very best I possibly can. And in the charitable sector, people seem genuinely determined to do the thing they want to do with no money involved. That is not what medicine is like. Our healthcare is this lefty, god awful institution where folk who are terrible, and I mean this honestly, completely unfit to do the job that they are doing, continue to fester. They stay there, they're unchallenged. We cannot have institutions where people like Shipman and Wayne Cousins and whoever the hell else are just looked after, guarded, and protected and defended because they work for that institution. I don't know how much harm we're going to have to see in the community for these NHS doctors to start thinking to themselves about a better way of doing things. Well, I am putting it to you like this, doctors. You hear me out? You'll be all right. If you want to get your liability sorted, get the hell out of here. I mean, to be honest, I don't understand how you're all going into work because your liability mountain that you're all digging is huge. You're doing so much harm to people. You're doing so much failure to people that eventually the public will turn around and start suing, and there will be a huge financial incentive to come after all of you, and the government will not protect you. The government will try to outsource its reliability to you lot, actually, and I think they probably should. I think that you're a disgrace, and on the general, to be honest, for the record, I don't really have a lot of sympathy with you other than advising you, please stop going to work, please stop propping up this horrific NHS, go on strike in some kind of effective, useful way to protect the public, and do the bare minimum of what you've taken an oath to do. I know I'm speaking to the entire general profession, but I am because you all suck. Okay? It's not just in America that there are absolute abominations to healthcare going on like it's normal. It's not normal. Plastic windpipe people, mesh people, Christ knows what else. Do you know what? See the diagnosis of neurodivergence. There's this nice one who's on the Instagram and she talks about neurodivergence all the time. Look, I'm not being funny, but if you care genuinely about people with neurodivergence and these types of issues, calling yourself a DR doctor and floating about in this fashion is completely toxic. It is toxic, authoritarian, and above all, as I've said, if you were good at it, if they delivered results, if they were anything like the charitable sector, if they were anything like private business and they had some consequences for failure, we wouldn't be where we are. But doctors occupy a consequence free, complete and total blanket failure position in society. No amount of failure, no amount of harm, no amount of inappropriate behavior, no amount of incompetence, no amount of totally ignoring the needs of patients, no amount of making the whole country. Literally, if you ask people, why did you vote for Brexit? Well, I can't get an appointment with my doctor. That's where you're at the moment. That is the level of toxicity that we get from clinical medicine. God help me. Stop what you're doing, you shower of fraudsters. You all know you're fraudsters. You all know that it's a big lie. You all know that you don't care about diseases in humans. You're the complete opposite of caring for diseases. You are people who manufacture situations where people cannot get better, and you make tons of money from disease. All of you. The NHS wants there is no difference. For ridiculous to claim to me that the NHS is somehow different from this exact phenomenon. It is identical. The only difference, right, is that the doctors here don't get to take home as much money. Right? I mean, really is it. That is the only difference. And believe me, if Thatcher or the rest of them, Jeremy Hunt and all that, they had their way, it would be and it will be on this current course, on this current trajectory. If the doctors themselves are given the choice, how do you want to run healthcare? They will run it like America. They will run it like America. They will run it like America if you give them the choice. I am certain of it. Many will go on strike, many will not. And I know that many will not. And solidarity to all those in those institutions trying their best with what you have. But I would beg you to listen to me and understand that there is just nothing but folly in your work. And no amount of trying to rescue this thing is going to be good for people. Emergency care, totally different. Emergency care, this is again somewhat separate from the other blancmanges. The things where we're so open for targeting by the fascists, we're saying this is wokeism and blah, blah, blah. It is kind of right. Some of it, there's some truth in that, I'm afraid. So there's a big toxic negative dump. I'm going to leave us with a little picture of whiskey and say, consider me a drug campaigner, consider me a criminal justice campaigner. I am completely against the war on drugs. I think that people who have conducted the war on drugs belong in jail. They know what they were doing. They knew what they're doing right now. And as for our politicians who enjoy casual use of substances that they will put other people in jail for, or not bat an eyelid about people being in jail for a long, long time for things that they do themselves for fun, this whole scenario is an absolute injustice that makes me rage. The way you're Justice Monkey, you can feel him, right? Rah, rah, rah. We've talked about Justice Monkey. Listen, if you're just new to my stuff, you're not going to know what Justice Monkey is the part of you that knows that something is just fundamentally wrong, okay? And it is just fundamentally wrong for posh middle class people to be governing the health of other people in this fashion. Completely disgusting, something that we will look back on hopefully in hundreds of years and go, fucking hell, I can't believe society was like that. What a disgrace. What a disgrace the doctors of 2024, etc., are and were. Capitalized medicine, making money from disease, do not care about people's consent, do not consider the patients, think the patients are too stupid to run their own healthcare. Fucking make me sick, you people. You really do. Get your head out your damn arses. Take your stupid letters down off your fucking names and try and become a real, credible healthcare person. You don't need stupid letters after your name to do that. Believe me, I know. I've helped hundreds and hundreds. And I'm fucking, honestly, for all the time that you spend in a GP, the most unsatisfying, miserable, thankless task that it is, well, I'm afraid to tell you, it's fundamentally always going to be like that because it's not fit for purpose. It's not a thing that should exist. Whatever it isn't healthcare. Whatever it isn't working. Whatever it is, it's not worth a single penny of public money. Abolish the general practice. That's what I would like. I would also like to abolish the Substance Abuse Control Act. All of that. Completely, total abolition. Because they're not competent. It is a failure and causing more problems than it is relieving. Definitely. And as for criminalizing drug use, absurd. Everybody with a drug substance abuse problem who's in jail, you would be fucking out of jail the minute I get in there. People who are doing violent crimes and things like Hugh Edwards and whatnot would be fucking in jail, but because our justice system, again, like our cops, are so completely fucking useless, they just live under these doctrines. This doctrine, this kind of one rule for us and another rule for the peasants thinking exists in healthcare. It's kind of fascist, authoritarian, corporate fascist healthcare is what we have. The NHS is just a great big shield to get away with it. Now, I won't abolish NHS. No. For goodness sake, it's ridiculous. Listen, it's one of the most civilized things about us. People should not have to pay money for healthcare. That's not what I'm saying. In my future, healthcare under total health liberty, you will have the choice. My God, you will have more choice than any other healthcare nation with healthcare, free healthcare in the world. We will be again, restore us to where we were before, famous in the world for being a center for great healthcare. I will do that if I'm given the chance with power. Our emergency healthcare will have jetpacks and shit hot vehicles and be deployed all around the world. We'll have other countries begging us to come and help and deal with catastrophes and crashes and injuries and all sorts of just chaos, things that are happening with climate change. We will have the best Jerry Anderson Thunderbirds level A&E people, and no longer having this all this garbage, bogus surgeries. Jesus, the bogus surgeries! I can't even think of the amount of money that is spent on bogus surgeries, unnecessary procedures, completely hokum diagnoses, and just mountains of drugs, mountains of drugs that are completely unnecessary for health. That's who you are, doctors. I hope you've enjoyed my roasting. That's what I do. I do roastings and bollockings of a Gordon Ramsay style and Alex Jones style. It's fun. It's cathartic for me because you people have done so much damage in the world. You're so completely deranged and narcissistic that you need a troll-like hobbit person like me to kick off and roar at you and teach you what healthcare is, what healthcare will be in the future, and how completely unacceptable your treatment of other people is. Dear doctors. Breaking Sad. That's the campaign, all right? I hope it was a good enough reference to Breaking Bad. There's a lot of sort of domestic guy going nuts vibes in that. I hope I really channel that. And at least you'll be very glad. I'm sure they'll be very glad and relieved that I am not taking up guns and arms against people, no matter the kind of harm an injury that they've caused me and my loved ones, don't you worry. I just do the shouting and bellowing and swearing and bawling down the internet for a laugh. That's what I do. That's how I get out with dealing with what you freaks do. Okay. Thanks, freaks. Thanks, doctors. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.